Hey guys, I'm Barb Crockett. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the French cultural exchange trip that we went on. Before I get started on the slides here, just wanted to talk a little bit about luggage. First of all, I packed a really big bag, and just one really big bag because I hate carrying multiple bags, and the airport broke one of my wheels on the trip to France. So it became a challenge to lug that big old bag everywhere with one wheel broken. Um, a lot of people said bringing two smaller bags was a better idea, but I personally hate carrying around multiple bags, so I went with one big one. Um, a few tips is bring an extra empty bag, like a duffel bag, to use for your souvenirs to bring back. That way you don't have to pay for another bag going out, you just have to pay for your souvenirs coming back. Another thing that I would say is there's a point in time, like if you buy wine or anything at the airport in France, there is a point in time where you get your checked bag back at customs. Make sure you put the wine and cheese or whatever it is that you bring back from France into your checked bag when you have it in your possession before you put it back on the conveyor belt and check into your next flight into the States. Um, I made that mistake and I lost a bottle of wine, so that kind of stunk a little bit. Uh, the other thing I would say is bring your umbrella. For sure, it rained quite a bit when we were there. Shoes that you're not afraid to get muddy, and shoes that are comfortable because you definitely do a lot of walking. Um, and if you like heels at all, unless you hate your ankles, I don't recommend it because there's a lot of cobblestone streets and things like that. And like I said before, a lot of walking. So if you want to bring them for those times when you don't plan on walking a lot, great. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. The other thing was the power converters. If you have I had a two-prong power converter, but I would recommend a three-prong power converter only because if you plan on blow drying your hair or anything like that, you will blow the fuse on the two-prong one. Just a word to the wise because I did that on mine. And then I used also an RFID adapter, or not adapter, but sleeves for my credit cards and my passport, which was really helpful. And I had like a little wristlet that I brought everywhere, and my jacket had pockets on the inside, which was great to not have to worry about like pickpockets and stuff. I did buy like those anti-theft tank tops with the hidden zippers, but honestly, I never wore them. I just wore my wristlet and shoved it in my inner pocket of my coat and made sure I always had my coat closed in front of me when we were anywhere. So, with that being said, we landed in Paris, or we landed in Paris, and we drove to Lorient. Lorient was amazing. It's in an area called Brittany, and they actually are um, they're very, very proud of their heritage, and they have their own flag. They kind of are prideful about being from Brittany. Uh, and Hannah, when I say we, I mean Hannah and I. She was my partner in crime in France, and we stayed with Solène, who was a former exchange student. She went to the US 2 years ago, I believe, and she experienced a program there and wanted to provide that same type of thing for US students when they came to France. So it was actually really amazing. Like her and her father had a rental home that was in the forest. So the three of us stayed out there, Hannah, Solène, and I, at night. And then during the day, we'd go into town. We'd have suppers at her father's house, um, which was great. And she planned a lot of events while we were in the Lorient-Quimper area. Um, so that was very nice. While we were there, we went to the World War II submarine museum. It was like a submarine base from World War II. It was pretty incredible. You just got to see the kind of enormity of the base there. It was pretty cool. We did go to the coast, which is some of these pictures you see here, and got to see this beautiful lighthouse here. And this is pretty cool, the steps going up into the side of the cliff sides. It was very beautiful. And then just more beautiful architecture here in these couple of pictures. You can see the cobblestone streets here, and it was just beautiful. It's like a storybook town. It was really, really pretty. And while we were there, Solène took us to her uncle's creperie, which was great. This crepe down here, I believe it was called a salt crepe. Was really good. It was like ham, egg, and cheese. And the one up here was more of a dessert crepe that probably most people are used to. This picture shows the local cider there that they had, and they drink it out of a bowl for whatever reason. And then this picture on this side is actually one of the first meals that we had in Quimper at Solène's father's house, and it was a raclette meal, which was great. You just heat your cheese up on these little kind of pans that go under this heated lamp here, and then you kind of pour the cheese over your meat and whatever else you have. Like we had peppers and mushrooms, and it was so good. And literally every meal there was wine, and I hate wine, but the wine there was very, very good. And bread that was so good, and salted butter and cheese with everything. It was good food, really, really good food. From there we went on. I guess while we were in Lorient, we also, like I said, we went to a aquarium, and we also went to Lorient's home team's soccer game, or they call it football, which was pretty neat to see. Then we went to Mont Saint Michel, and this place was really neat. It looked like a castle, but it wasn't a castle. It was for nuns, I guess. But during high tide, this whole area is completely covered in water, so this is like a little island here. And then in these pictures, they're just like it's like this little town within this fortress here, and just shops lining this whole area, and like different food vendors and whatnot. But so cool, just the architecture in there was just amazing. And then I don't know if you could see on the back of this one, it's just from where we were, you could just see the ocean back here. Very, very cool. From there, we went to Normandy and Omaha Beach. These pictures here are from the Normandy American Cemetery, which was donated to the United States by France so that the people who passed away there in World War II would be buried on U.S. soil, which was pretty nice of them. It was pretty breathtaking, and at one point they actually played taps and lowered the flag. I'm not totally sure why. But I can just tell you there wasn't a dry eye. It was pretty incredible. And from here, from like the edge of the cemetery, you can actually see the ocean for miles. And then we got to see the World War II bunkers. These were really, really neat. Just massive, massive, thick fortresses. And just a beautiful setting, as you can see. There's barbed wires along the edge of the cliffside here, and this this bunker here was just right on the edge of this coastline. And some of them were blown apart, and you kind of saw craters all over that you can tell weren't natural. They were from the bombs when they dropped them back in World War II. So kind of crazy to believe that a place that is now clearly so beautiful was once so gory and just horrible. Hard to believe that this was bad, or was a bad place at one time. And then from there we went to Paris, where we saw the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, and I think this was the Pantheon, is what this was here. And then one of my favorites was the catacombs. This spoke to a very, very kind of eerie time in French history, where bones were kind of strewn down in sewer tunnels, or whatever you want to call these caverns under France, with nothing to mark them except for a little sign that depicted which cemetery that they were from that was no longer there, above ground. And it's kind of crazy to believe that this isn't, these bones here aren't fake. It's not some amusement park facade. These are real people. So that was pretty crazy. And then these were carvings that were done in there by one of the workers there, who actually died in a cave in there. It's pretty neat. And then these were from sightseeing. This was the French version of the Statue of Liberty, and just some other fun pictures here. This is the Notre Dame Cathedral that was all burned, so we got to see that. And then this was from the bridge that was the Locks of Love Bridge, but they since have cut off all the fencing that was on this bridge and replaced it with like a plexiglass, so you can't really put locks on it anymore. So people have resorted to putting like bike locks around these poles and then putting these locks on there instead. And you would think that there was only one bridge like this, but turns out they're actually all over. You can find people selling locks kind of at every bridge, I feel like. You see them kind of everywhere. And again, the food. We're going to talk about a lot of food. I like food. The steak was good. This was at a little pizzeria we went to, which was really neat. They were cooking in a wood fire grill. These are their little bottles of pop. They serve them out of glass bottles, which was cool. And in Brittany, like in Lorient, they had their own pop that was called Britse Cola. So, and it was pretty good. It was very sweet, but it was good. And then this was bone marrow, which I did not try. But I did try frog legs. I never in a million years thought I'd put a frog leg in my mouth, but you guys, I did. And it tasted like chicken. It wasn't bad at all. So really good food, really, really, really good wine, and really, really good friends. And my favorite part of the experience was the architecture. This was one of the old churches we had gone by when we were lost in the rain. But I mean, literally everywhere you looked, it was stuff like this that you look at it and it's hard to grasp the enormity of it. And it was everywhere. And it was just like, it was hard to fathom how it was even possible. Like, these things look like they would have taken a lifetime to build or to make, especially in those times, because they don't have the technology that we have today. I mean, they didn't laser cut this. This was done by hand, and things like this were all over. So it was pretty stunning. It was a beautiful, beautiful place. And then I guess the other thing we were supposed to talk about here was the government or whatever in politics. And to be quite honest, I really don't care for politics. I feel like he who has the most money wins, and that's who gets to be in charge. And that's just what I believe. It could be wrong, but that's my deal. And I think they're kind of more socialist, and they seem to definitely be more in tune to U.S. politics than probably we are. I think they know more about U.S. politics than I do. But all in all, you guys, it was literally the trip of a lifetime. It was beautiful. It was worth every minute. I know initially I was very, very apprehensive about it because I am pushing 40 with 2 kids. I knew no one. I'm a distance learner, so I did not know anybody from the South Dakota campus at all. Kind of went into it blind and was a bit nervous about staying with a host family that I didn't know, but honestly, you couldn't have had the experience and been as immersed in the French culture as we were, having not had that host family and having not had Jan, and going and immersing ourselves in their classrooms in Lorient like we did. So it was great. Jan was great. He was the French instructor. Our host families were pretty much all great from what I understand. And Deb and Mark were really, truly amazing, you guys. It's totally worth it. Do it. Don't hesitate. Just go. It's amazing. Pictures don't do it justice. So you got to see it in person. Anyway, thanks, guys. Have a good one.